Hello and welcome back to the CardRPG Scriptable Objects tutorial for Unity. And this is part 4. We're currently going to be doing the card and the card script and getting that all ready. And then after this video, we'll be doing the UI and actually configuring it to get it to set up and have the card sit correctly. So, as we noticed from the last stream, we go, well, crass. There is no, there's a image for the card, right? We pull it in. Canvas as an image, but it doesn't do anything. It's just a button, right? So we're going to go into scripts, and we're going to set up right here inside scripts. In the main set shell, you can put it wherever you want, but it's going to be a C# script called card. So we're going to double click card, and we're going to get rid of start and update. But we'll probably end up using it at some point. And there's a couple of variables that need to be added to the card, right? The first thing, we need to be able to pull the information from the scriptable object that we created, right? So we're going to need a card data public reference to it, right? So that way we can attach it when the card is created. Next thing, we're going to make a header here, and we're going to do a card info. This is the information for the card. We need to also set up a using Unity Engine.ui because the cards are actually all UI based. The game is UI based. Certain things like the enemy and stuff like that, they won't be. But most of the game, everything you can interact with obviously has to be UI. But I'd say 90% of the game is a UI game. So we'll do public text called card name text. Another public text for the description. You can do DESC, which is what I'm going to call it, or you can write out the description. Public text for the card type, so that it shows on the top of the card whether it's attack or defend, right? And one more text object called card stamina. So we want to see how much stamina or energy that card costs. There's another header. We'll call it card data. This is the actual data of the card that's going to pass in and store itself. So we have a public string of the card name. Right. So we just need all the values that could move from the card data, right? Basically, we need all of this to show up over here. So, I apologize, it's a little bit sloppy. So we're going to actually move. So enter here, add that. There we go. A little sloppy. So the name, we need a string for the description. DESC is what I'm using again. We need a public card type. Card types. Card type. So the card knows what it is. We need a public int of card stamina. So we know how much the card costs. Then we need a public int of strength. So we know if it's an attack card. Public int of defense. And a public int of card draws, how many cards it would draw. Right? So now we need to do a void start. What happens on start? We're going to collect all the information of that scriptable object because when the object is created in the same frame, this is already populated too. So because of that, we're going to make sure that it fills everything in. Excuse me. That it fills everything in. So we're going to do something called collect an info from card scriptable object. Right? And so we're going to take that and we're going to make it out of private because it's only going to ever be called in start, so it can be private. Private void for that. And now let's quick set up a way to get out of it if it's not set up right. So if card data is equal to null, we're gonna destroy this object so that this doesn't run. Because it will break a bunch of stuff if it does not have a card data set up on it. So then we'll return out of it at the end, basically close this script and have nothing else work. This is the only thing working on start. So if it hits return here because it was null, then it will actually never. The rest of this function, or rest of this method, will not run. Now we can set up what everything is, right? So we can do card name equals card data dot card name. Card description equals card data dot description. Card type. Oops. Card description. Card type equals card data dot type. Card type dot. Oh, do we not go back and add it when we created the card types? We didn't. So we need to put that right here. Right here. Public card type. Card type. Right? Or just call it. We can just call it type. It doesn't really matter what we call that. But so this becomes type. Okay. Card stamina equals card data dot stamina. Strength equals card data strength. Yeah. Defense equals card data dot defense, and then card draw is card data dot draw. Okay. So then we're going to go and update the display. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that the display reads the same way. So we're going to go through all these texts, set them up correctly, right? We're going to do a public void update display. And we're set card name text dot text equals card name. Card description equals this. So we're going to refresh this to make sure that it's the same, right? Card description, card data card description. We're going to refresh that every time we call this to make sure that it is the same. Card type text dot text equals card type dot toString dot toUpper. We want them to be in all capital letters, just in case they aren't. Right? I forgot to actually add here card description text dot text equals card description. Okay, and then the last one, card stamina text dot text equals card stamina dot toString. Back to here. You remember when we had the scriptable objects? First off, their types are currently none, so we need to change those. But see how it says deal X damage? We need to import the 2 into there, right? And you could always type it, but then it won't work when you have an increase in power and it can do 3 instead of 2. It won't cooperate. So we'll set up smack to be an attack. Set up defend and aerial flipped to both be defenses. So now let's do that, right? So we're going to actually do something. We're going to put card description is now equal to process description. right? So we're going to take this and we need to go in and configure that. So we're going to do a private string of process description. So what this means that putting string here instead of void means it needs to return something, right? So it's going to, at the very end, we're going to return something, but this is how this is going to work. Ready? We're going to do a switch. We're going to switch on the card type to figure out what kind of type it is. So we're going to do tab, creates a switch. Now, when you add a enum in place, it will always pre-fill all of it for you. So we do card data dot type. And we hit enter twice, and they all pre-fill. Now, thankfully, we won't ever have cards that have the word none. We won't ever have cards that have the word count or default. We don't need to worry about those, just these four, right? And we'll go back and address item and boost when we make cards for them. But right now, we're just going to work on attack and defense. Okay? So we're going to do first, we're going to create a string array called temp A. Doesn't really matter what we call it. It's just a temporary string. And we're going to take the card description and we're going to split it. And you do a single apostrophe and put a space. So it's split by a space, right? Basically, that's going to take the entire string and remove all the spaces and chop up the entire description, right? We're also going to take another temporary string called new card description, and it's going to equal nothing to start off. Then we're also going to reset card description to equal nothing. Okay? Now we're going to do a for loop. And this for loop is going to run through all of temp A dot length. It's going to run through the entire split up string. And we're going to check to see if temp A at position I, right? Dot to upper. So we're just going to check against, just in case it's typed not the same as it is for us. Doesn't matter. Or we get lazy about it and we don't make it perfect. So we're going to take them all, move them all to capital, move them all to capital case, and we see if it equals the letter X, just by itself, nothing else. Right? So if it does, we're going to add in temp A at I equals strength .to string. Right? That's it. If it gets out of the for loop, then we can do new card description plus equals temp A of position I. Oops. I. Right? So basically what that says is it needs to stay in there. It needs to be out of the if. There we go. So basically this is saying, hey, run through everything. If it is an X, you're going to change what X is to a number. Otherwise, you're just going to put it back in the string. Right? Also, we're going to make sure that we add the spaces back in. So if I is less than temp A dot length -1, so we don't want to go out of the array, then new card description plus equals a space, one space. Right? And you don't have to have brackets for every single if statement. If the if statement is one line, you can actually do it like this. This works the same way. That's the exact same thing as this. You can even put else on the same line. You can do else here. Still works. As long as it's one line. Right? So now, we need to return something, don't we? So we need to return outside of the for loop new card description, because that's what we've been adding to this entire time. Right? We can remove the break here. Defense is pretty self-explanatory. It's the exact same thing. The only thing that we need to change is we do need to change these temporaries, right? I guess we don't need to. We could go like this because it runs once anyway, right? So we can move string array of temp and do it equal to this guy, right? And then we can do a string of new card description and then card description. We can actually bring this all outside of it, right? And if we toss all this out, and we change this word to temp, it'll actually make things a lot easier. There we go. Now it says no, not all code paths return value because we need to set up the rest of this, right? So now for defense. Defense is not going to have much different. It's still going to run through the same loop here. We're just going to return. We're going to return the same thing. Now, the reason we're not just keeping this as one group, right? What reason why we're not just making this one thing here? Because we have to change this word to defense, right? Is because when we add in status effects and you can become frail, right? Or you can become weakened. They only happen on cards that start with that are the type of attack, not the type of defense. All right. So now, item is pretty darn similar again. For now, it's more or less the same. It's just going to be a card draw for this right now. We don't have anything else but card draw for item ones. Right? It's not going to change really anything. And for now, we're gonna just to satisfy. We're always gonna return break. Break, and we can return this at the bottom. So let's do that. Let's return that. We're gonna change it up a little bit. We're gonna return new card description at the end of this string. Right. So down here, after the switch loop, return new card description. Right. So now it'll always return it. You can change these back to break. Right. I don't have to worry about it. Boost. A boost card. I mean, we can set this up again. It's not really matter that much because we don't have a boost card set up. We can just keep it card draw. Not a big deal. Right. So, effectively, cards are set up, I believe. Yeah. Okay, so that's the entire card. So now what we're going to do is we're going to bring this card script onto this guy. And there's the card data. So now we need to just make sure that Card Manager has a reference to the prefab, and it does, right? We also need to pull some of the scriptable objects in. So we're gonna lock the inspector, the little lock up here. We're gonna click on arrow flip to smack. Hold shift, click smack. That selects all three of them. Drag them into all cards in the game for cards that exist. We're also gonna put them in cards that are in your deck. But we're gonna put arrow flip in once. We'll put in defend twice, and we'll put in smack twice. Why not? It's like a mini deck you have now, right? So effectively, if we set this up right, unlock it. Let's make sure we apply the prefab before we kill it. We're gonna kill it. Now it should have a card create. Well, for instance, if we did this, ready? If we, just to test it, we can pull a card back into the canvas. In the card data, pick any of these scriptable objects. Right? Pick any of these ones. Let's just do aerial flip. Right? And if we hit play, it didn't work. And that's because there's a bunch of things that are not assigned yet. And the update display references. Oh, the references are not set up. You gotta set up these references. So we're gonna set up a couple things here. We're gonna set up a UI panel. Okay. And what that's gonna do is we're gonna set up a stretch for that. We're gonna make it 20 in on the left, 80 in on the top. We're gonna make it 20 in on the right, 30 in on the bottom. It creates a nice little bordery thing, right? And then the background color is going to be this color. 3E, 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 FF. Right, which makes it a full color, has a little bit more of a gray. And that's just called panel. All right, now we're also going to make a text object. All right, we're going to call this, for reference, we're going to call this defense. It's going to be bold. And it's going to position to the top. We're going to hold Alt and Shift and click the top. Now we're going to bring this 45 to X. We're going to bring it -7 for Y. We're going to do a 115 for width and 23 for height. And if you click on this and hit F on scene, it'll bring you to where it is. It's here right in the middle. And now all we have to do is click best fit and turn the color. This is centered. And the color becomes white. Defense. And you can center it more if you want. I think it's a good spot. I think like this a little bit. Okay. This is the card type. Oops. Card type. We're going to hit Control D to copy that. We're going to bring it down a little bit. We're going to name it title. Right? And just for reference, we're going to call it card title. Right? Bring the font size to 20. Turn off best fit. Right? Centered. Go center. And we're going to just set up 21.3 and -43. And it's going to be 160 in width and 34. Boom. Card title. Now, we need to make one more for description and one more for stamina. So, description. And we're just going to call this new text because we need some kind of placeholder, right? We're going to make it 14. We're going to make it normal, not bold. And move this to 25, -89. 150 by 121. There you go. Now it'll be centered and tell us what the description of the text is. And one last thing is the stamina. Right? The stamina is going to be bold, and I believe we're doing best fit for it. And just going to use the number 8. Doesn't really matter what number you use for temp. We're going to make this 5. Well, this is 5.6 and -1. And 32 and 34. There it is, right in the corner. So now we need to make the color, make it kind of like a nice bright blue. then it'll stand out, right? Also, we're going to add a shadow component. So you're going to do add component shadow. And we're going to give it just the 1, -1. But look at the difference in readability when you turn it on and off, right? Now in the card, we can attach a couple things to the card, right? So we have the title, have the card description, we have the card type, and the card stamina. Of course, make sure you apply changes. And now, because we already have aerial flip assigned to it, if you hit play, there it is. Everything fills in, right? It originally had nothing filled in, and then because of the scriptable objects data, fills it in. 1 mana, aerial flip, defend 5 damage, and draw 1 card. And the X did fill in. So the next video, we will be working on setting up the rest of the UI and finishing out the card manager as well for the different parts that we need to add. For instance, the draw container, discard container, and how everything else is set up. So until next time, guys, thanks so much, and have a good one. Peace out.